Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts, America's Still Beautiful podcast, a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts, America's Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today.
Welcome to GSMC, America's Still Beautiful podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Alyssa Jo. How's it going today? I hope you're having an amazing day. My day is great because I get to record this episode with you and share amazing stories. How could it get any better? I thought I would start today's episode off with some stories that all you animal lovers out there definitely are going to love. I think they're pretty awesome stories. So let's just jump right into it. Okay, so a veterinarian has spent the last 9 years treating homeless people's pets for free across California. This is pretty cool. His name is Dr. Quayne Stewart. He first started his labor of love back in 2011. This is after he was left heartbroken by the amount of animals being surrendered to his veterinary clinic during the recession. As more and more people kind of lost their homes, more and more pet owners opted to turn their furry companions over to a shelter than allow them to be homeless. So this kind of all started then. It really, hit home for him. Of course, he's a veterinarian. So to see so many people basically giving their little furry companions over to a shelter, it kind of sparked this idea. That's when he brought his veterinary supplies to a soup kitchen event so he could treat some of the homeless pets around Modesto, California. He says about 25% of our homeless population own a pet. And I knew that if I set up a table at a soup kitchen, I could help a small group of animals. So that's what I did. I called over anyone who was holding their pet and told them I'd take a look and vaccinate or treat their pet if I could. So just on that single day, he treated 15 animals. And basically this is when he knew that he found his purpose. This is what he wanted to do. So since then, he's been devoting his spare time to wandering through alleyways and city streets, just basically up and down the West Coast, so he can treat homeless people's pets. And he has literally helped heal more than 400 animals on the streets. What a cool thing. A lot of the dogs and cats can easily be treated with the supplies in his veterinary bag. Of course, though, some of the animals required more intensive surgeries and operations. So yeah, he's been doing this now for 9 years, helping so many animals. Back in September, he actually created a GoFundMe campaign to raise money for this mission. And now he has raised $29,000 to pay for animal treatments. He was also officially named the GoFundMe Hero of February. That is definitely a title I think he deserves. I think this is so cool. He says, I don't ever want to have to turn anybody away. The look on people's faces when they get their pets back, especially after a surgery or a life-saving procedure, those are moments I'll remember forever. So cool. I think it's such a good idea. And it breaks my heart to see just the homeless people in general, and then you see homeless people with a dog or a cat, and they look so hungry, and I think it hits home for a lot of people, right? And it's so sad. So I just think this is such a cool idea that he's doing this. Well, keeping on this animal train, there is a bus driver. His name is Mike, and he saved a dog. So he was driving down the road when he noticed something kind of weird. He noticed a dog and a man basically just in the middle of the road, and a car had kind of like slowed down and were just like going around them, and there was a video of it, and you can see the man like trying to kind of steer the dog, and the dog, you know, it didn't look normal. Like, it looked weird. First of all, they're walking down the middle of the road, but like it just didn't look normal. It was just kind of like, I would understand why he was suspicious. Anyways, so they were getting onto the bus, and even in the video you can see like this guy trying to get this dog onto the bus, but the dog was kind of fighting back and like didn't really want to like do anything, and I don't know, like the whole thing was suspicious. So obviously Mike was pretty suspicious as well. The dog literally really noticeably did not want to get on the bus with this man. Eventually he did get on the bus with the man, and Mike noticed that the dog's collar had his name on it. So he actually asked the man multiple times what the dog's name was, and the man gave him 4 different names. So, of course, that's really when it clued in that, you know, the dog did not probably belong to this man. So, anyways, long story short, they were able to call the police. I believe they called the transit operators first or whatever it was, and called the police, and they were able to call a phone number that was on the dog's collar and reunite the dog with the family, with the owners. The owners were obviously super, super happy to have their furry friend back home, thanks to Mike, who really kind of stepped up in a suspicious, weird situation. But the dog is back home. The family says that, you know, they were out for the night. Maybe the dog got out in the backyard or something like that and kind of escaped or something. But anyways, it doesn't matter. The dog is safe and sound, thanks to trusty bus driver Mike, who saved the dog from basically a dog nap, I guess. Okay, let's stay on this animal train. Like I said, all you animal lovers are really gonna love this episode. So Tammy Nemec is the founder and president of a nonprofit organization. This nonprofit organization, I don't know if you heard of it, but it's called Rescue Cats Rock. So there's 80 rescue cats. So Tammy and her 80 rescue cats moved into their North Fort Myers mobile home in January. But this is after a series of some pretty big news press articles that rallied all the cat lovers, all you animal lovers, to donate enough money for her to put a $35,000 down payment on this place. So let me rewind a little bit. Before all this happened, before all this news press, before she put was able to put a down payment on a house down, her and her cats faced the possibility of being homeless because their lease ran out from their formal rental house. And the outlook just looked horrible for her and her cats, and there was almost 80 of them at this time. Crazy. But the generosity from a bunch of, kind of press and stuff got her enough money to put this down payment on a place so that her and her cats would have a home. But then more generosity came from an anonymous couple who paid the $75,000 mortgage off this mobile home completely for her. So she has absolutely no mortgage to pay. They came just weeks after she made the down payment on this mobile home. So this anonymous couple showed up one day with a checkbook in hand. And this was only like a few weeks after she purchased the home. And she says that right there in the middle of her new bedroom, this couple told her that they were writing her a check for $100,000. And of course, she was absolutely stunned and just blown away, did not believe it. She says, I kind of lost my balance and just sat down on the floor. It was so surreal. She says, and of course, I was crying. She looked up at her friend and asked if she was dreaming. She wasn't. It was real. The man said, my wife and I have been praying about this. It says, we believe this is God's money, and we believe that God is telling us that we should help you. So this huge donation from this very generous couple, obviously made a massive difference. But, Tammy also really wants to thank all the people who donated, enough, whether it was $5, $10, or $100,000. It made such a difference in the lives of those cats. She said she was just so overwhelmed, just grateful beyond words, for this generosity that has come from just like this press release, basically, of her, from her almost losing her home to now living in this home mortgage free with her 80 cats from this organization. So let me give you a little bit more of some background information of this organization. It runs solely on donations, and Tammy herself lives off a check of $770 a month. It's a disability check because she broke her neck and back in a car accident back when she was 21 years old. And she actually started the organization in 2015, but it officially became a nonprofit only about a year ago. And the goal of this organization is to save sick or injured or feral cats that might otherwise go unadopted or euthanized. So she literally adopts as many as she can. She adopted 20 cats alone just last month. And she says, it's not my home, it's the cat's home. She says these cats aren't just something that she loves. She says that it's a mission from God. Until these cats have arrived, until this kind of organization really started to take off and she became really passionate about it, she was living in a troubled life involving some drug and alcohol problems, and she served 6 months of jail time in 2014, and when she got out, she decided that she needed to make a change. And that's kind of when all this rescue cat organization came about. And she went from almost losing her home to now living mortgage-free. She has 80 cats. I'm sorry, but how do you keep track of 80 cats? That blows my mind. But yeah, she doesn't have to pay her mortgage. She got very generous donations, of course, from the couple and just from others, too, to donate to this GoFundMe to help her, stay on her feet and everything, and to help all the cats that need to be rescued. 80 and counting. That is a lot. Okay, it's time for a little bit of a break, but don't go anywhere. I have so many more amazing stories to share with you.
The GSMC Life and Happiness podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
You're listening to GSMC, America's Still Beautiful podcast. Welcome back from the break. Let's jump right back into some more amazing stories. Okay, now I don't have any more stories for you animal lovers, but these stories are still feel good. They're going to put a smile on your face. My next one is about a teenage boy named Eric Erdman. Eric has terminal brain cancer, but he is dedicating his remaining time and energy to giving back to children across the country. This is a pretty amazing story. So he started Give a Child a Voice organization in 2016. And his mission, his goal for Give a Child a Voice is to put an end in child abuse, bullying, and life-threatening childhood illnesses. Pretty amazing young man to be spending his time, dedicating it to giving children their voice back. His latest project is called Give a Child a Voice Fitness Center Giveaway. And it's exactly what it sounds like. He was giving away a fitness center. There was about 100 applicants for the giveaway. Basically to high schools and stuff like that he wants, kids to get more involved in. Anyways, in late January, Life High School Oak Cliff was chosen as a finalist. Eric then visited the campus and students showed him around and shared their stories with him. And a teacher named Megan Stinson decided to apply for the giveaway to advocate for the students. She says, these are definitely my babies. I'm so excited for what it means for these kids. Eric did do a video call-in to the entire school and to announce that they had won this fitness center giveaway. One of the seniors, Jessica Howard, says she is so grateful to have this. It's something that they've never really had before, so now they have this amazing fitness center. And she says it teaches us not to forget where we came from and give back to our community, to always remember that we can always make an impact, big or small. And that is what Eric showed us today. I think this is such a cool thing. I think it's so cool. He has all these different projects to give back to kids, to give children a voice. I'm super curious to kind of keep on point with this and see what else he's going to be doing in his time. Pretty amazing. All right, my next story too is actually about a teacher who adopted one of his students after he helped him get a life-saving kidney. It's amazing. Okay, so Damien, who is 12 years old, walked up to his math and science teacher, Finn Lanning, in 2018, and he told him that he wouldn't be returning to AXL Academy in Aurora, Colorado after Thanksgiving break. So Finn is 37 years old, and he said he was Damien was one of the few new students. He was studious, he was smart, he was funny, and they got to know each other a little bit. They had a few classes. But what he didn't know until then was that Damien had a autoimmune disease that had seriously damaged his kidneys. And to make matters even worse, Damien had also been in foster care for the past 4 years. So he was sick and he was in foster care. He's only 12 years old. He says it was hard for him to find placement because he was sick. He told me he had to leave the foster home he was living in and was moving into the hospital because they didn't have any other space for him. And he goes, I remember kind of sitting there with him and not really knowing what to say. I can't even imagine. So then, without hesitation, he knew he had to help this 7th grader kind of outside of the classroom, go above and beyond teacher duties. So after Damien left school, Finn began to visit him weekly at the hospital, and that's when his kidneys had shut down. He was on dialysis 12 hours a day, and he desperately needed a kidney transplant. Finn learned all of this, that this was happening, and he learned that Damien was also being taken off the waiting list because he lacked a stable home environment where his health and recovery could be affected, didn't know if it could be effectively monitored. And this is really when Finn knew that he had to step up and make a difference for this boy's life. He said, I had no experience being a parent, but I couldn't just look away. So he qualified to be Damien's foster parent in March of 2019, which means it made way for Damien's successful kidney transplant in June of that same year. He says, I never thought I would end up being a father, but that is literally exactly what happened. Finn underwent the intensive training to learn how to administer the boy's daily 12-hour dialysis, and he became in charge of everything from buying him the right kind of toothpaste to scheduling the doctor's appointments. He was his father. He literally was in charge of everything. He says, I'd really thought a lot about this decision. I didn't want to be another person in a long line who had made a commitment to him and then couldn't keep it. I wanted him to trust me and feel comfortable. So yeah, he really, really stepped up to the plate. A GoFundMe page has also helped Finn along the lines of paying for Damien's daily expenses because he's also had to take some time off of work to care for him. So Finn was there for Damien throughout this entire thing, when he was placed back on the transplant list only to find out, the kidney wasn't a match. And then the following month, Damien was then 13 at the time. He finally got the kidney that he so desperately needed. But then, unfortunately, the transplant didn't go quite as well. He's now been in remission since September, leading to more than 2 months of invasive treatments, including chemotherapy and plasmapheresis. I hope I'm saying that right, which is a process that removes plasma from the blood. So these days, Finn and Damien are only focusing on the bright future that they have ahead. Damien went back to school in August. He's actually playing school sports and he's swimming. And after homework and chores, they like to cook together and do things together like father and son. They spent this past Christmas with Finn's family in Kansas. And it's just like a little family. And Damien's doing a lot healthier now. He's doing a lot better. And Finn is the father that he never thought he would be. Going from being this little boy's teacher to his father, helping him save his life. Damien says you can kind of lose hope after a while when you're living in a hospital. But now I can settle in, go to school, make friends, and live a good life. And Finn adds, it's super cool to react on how different things are and to see him to be able to just enjoy things that regular kids get to enjoy. I never expected this to be my life, but I'm so happy that it is. And I'm so happy that we're in it together. This story gave me chills. I thought it was the sweetest thing in the entire world. But speaking of sweet stories, this one is about a 14-year-old boy who stands outside selling baked goods to help his mother pay bills. This story also gave me chills when I first read it. Eli Cosio has been doing this for 4 years, but recently he's definitely seen an increase in sales because a video of him went viral on social media. It says in the video, he says, I have strawberry cupcakes, red velvet cupcakes, cherry cheesecakes, fudge brownies, and I got chocolate chip cookies. The video has been seen thousands of times by people praising his work ethic, just being inspired by what he's doing. People are literally coming to meet him just because he's so inspiring for other kids as well. And the story behind it all is really amazing. So Eli's mother, Tina Hernandez, was injured in a horrific car accident and required several surgeries. The doctor said that she was dead for 14 minutes, but she was revived. That right there is just a miracle. His mother had to learn how to walk all over again. So he says she could barely walk, so I had to get out there and just start selling. So his routine is definitely not a typical 14-year-old boy routine. He wakes up at 5 a.m., he bakes, he goes to school, and then he sells his treats after. He's been helping his mother with bills, and he has a dream of owning his own food truck one day, but he also wants to attend culinary school when he gets older. He says, there's more to life than just sitting and playing video games. I was raised to go get, and I went and got it. Just amazing. So you can buy his tasty treats, but you can also donate to a GoFundMe page that has been set up for Eli. All these stories are just giving me goosebumps today. They're so sweet. Okay, it's time for another break, but don't go anywhere. I have more amazing stories to share with you, like always. Stay tuned.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
GSMC, America's Still Beautiful podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. All right, let's jump back into some great stories. So there is a new study that says that if you have anxiety, there's something that you can do for it. And it might seem so weird when I say this, but they're saying if you do improv acting classes, it can really help your anxiety. Which is weird because doing improv sounds terrifying for people, especially people with anxiety. Like, getting up and doing improv, like, that's a big thing, right? But they're saying that it gives the person, like, the gift of the present, basically. So, like, people with anxiety a lot of times are either, thinking about the past, thinking about the future. There's always something kind of going on in your head. You're normally kind of, like, not in the present when you're, like, super anxious all the time. But improv forces you to, like, stay rooted in the present, because you have to, it's like quick thinking, right? You have to jump to action, really, and your ideas, rhymes, jokes, whatever it is that you have to do, it's like, it's now, it's in the moment. So that's why they're saying that this will really help improve anxiety. Which just, like, a lot of people I think are really just anxious to get up and do something like this. But I guess once you get going, it can really put you out of that state. And I think it does make sense because, like, the biggest thing against anxiety, like, being in the present makes you less anxious. But when you're anxious all the time, you're not in the present. So I think it's kind of a cool study. But this all kind of came to life at Second City a couple years ago. Basically, it was like a support network, and they help kind of boost the confidence of their members and teens, college students, any kind of anxiety group. And this, like, scientific study showed great potential. So after a short-term clinical study involving 32 patients, researchers in Illinois concluded that intervention using improv comedy exercises may provide a strong and efficient treatment for patients with anxiety and depression as well. Yeah, so there you go. I guess if you suffer with anxiety or depression, maybe try taking an improv class. Honestly, if all else fails, it's still fun, or it's fun to watch if you don't quite get up there. But I don't know, I think it's kind of a cool idea. Definitely puts you in the moment, so I guess we'll see. All right, my next story is about a random act of kindness that is blown up on social media, of course. It started with a woman who offered to buy a cake for a stranger in Alvin, Texas. And then she left a note behind. And so I'm going to read that note to you. It says, "My son Nehemiah would be 8 years old today. I wanted to remember my son by doing good to others. I hope you enjoy your child's cake, and I hope your day is special. Hold your baby a little tighter today. Watch them as they play. Be patient with them. Kiss their sweet little hand and tell them how much you love them. Our children are such special gifts. Hope your day is beautiful. Much love from me and my angel in heaven to your family." So the mother who received the cake was just absolutely in tears by this random act of kindness. And I guess her daughter was also turning 8. So she says, "Thank you, God, for this gift, for giving me my sweet little girls to love on when this mom is lying in bed wishing she could do the same thing. How sad that people take it for granted." But yeah, so I guess she's not just walking away with a free cake. She said she also received one of the biggest lessons of her life. She says, "A gift for me to know that I need to cherish every birthday, every celebration. Even though I didn't want to throw a birthday party, I'm so glad that I did." So she shared this note on Facebook, just hoping to find the mother and thank her in person. But there's no luck so far, but it definitely did blow up on social media. People are absolutely loving this just random act of kindness, and the sweet note left behind hits home for some people, I'm sure. But yeah, you never know what your random act of kindness is going to do. And for this girl, it says that it gave her huge life lessons to just cherish every single moment with your kids that you can. Pretty cool. All right, so my next story is about a Guinness World Record. This is pretty crazy. A former Marine, his name is George Hood, he reclaimed the male Guinness World Record for the longest time spent in the plank position. This is crazy. Like, I cannot believe that he did this. Over 8 hours in the plank position. Like, what? Okay, so he's 62 years old.
first set the record in 2011 with a time of 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 25 seconds. But now his new time is 8 hours, 15 minutes, and 15 seconds. Like, what? Being in a plank for 8 hours? Like, what are you talking? Like, crazy. And then I guess soon after he set the record, he celebrated by doing 75 push-ups. Like, let's just celebrate 8 hours of the plank with 75 push-ups. Like, oh my goodness. He says, I've taken the plank as far as I can take it. The grueling lesson burned an estimated 4,252 calories. Yeah, that's one way to burn calories. Just sit in a plank for 8 hours. No problem. He says he's trained nearly 7 hours a day for the past 18 months. So this included, but definitely was not limited to, approximately 2,100 hours of plank time, 270,000 push-ups, and nearly 674,000 sit-ups. Just crazy. And yeah, he has now set the record, 8 hours. I would love to see someone be an 8-hour plank. It just blows my mind. He's planked even longer, I guess, in the past. He's had a 10-hour plank certified by a different organization. But with the publicity surrounding like his achievements, he said that he really wants to raise mental health awareness by doing all of this. So he's a former Marine Corps officer, a retired Drug Enforcement Administration special agent, and he's troubled by the high rates of suicide among the law enforcement officers. So he kind of wants to use this like publicity that he's getting to make a point, to speak up for mental illness. He says for him, physical challenges come with mental health benefits. He says, when I plank, I've met a lot of my own personal issues. He uses the marathon planking sessions to purge his negative thoughts and work through relationship issues. He doesn't plan on tackling any more planking records. He said he's taking a real hard look at the push-up genre now. And next he may attempt to take on the record for most push-ups in an hour. Wow. Like, absolutely crazy, but I think it's cool that he's using this publicity to speak up for something that's important to him. Now, let's just all go be an 8-hour plank or the record for most push-ups. Whew, I'm exhausted just thinking about that. All right, I have one more story for you. Well, it's more like some statistics that I thought you might be interested in. It's about getting kids to eat their veggies. So there was a new survey of 2,000 parents with children under 18, and half of them declared a parenting win whenever their child requested a healthy snack. And then 53% said another win was watching them actually enjoy the healthy snack. Those don't always go hand in hand. So these wins could arguably be the most satisfying things for parents to see. Because 55% of the respondents agreed getting their child to eat a healthy food was difficult. So creativity is kind of key for parents to get their kids to eat healthy food. So through this survey and everything, they've come up with 10 ways to try to get their kids to eat healthy food. So I guess chicken nuggets is another key to stealth health. 22% of parents surveyed say that they've told their children breaded vegetables were chicken nuggets to help persuade the little ones to eat them. It's pretty smart. 21% said that they've told their children all meat is chicken nuggets to give them a boost to eat it. It's all about that chicken nuggets. The most successful tip to keep their kids eating healthy is simply allowing them to lend a hand in the kitchen. 37% said that. Any way you slice it, all adults love the satisfying little ways that you can kind of empower yourself to raising your little kid. So here are the 10 hacks that they've come up through this survey to help kids eat healthy, maintain a nutritious diet. So here we go. Number 1, allowing your child to help cook meals so they'll become more likely to eat them. Letting your child pick their own healthy snacks. Letting your child pick a few meals for the family to have each week. Only letting your child eat dessert if they finish their vegetables. Switching the packaging from an unhealthy snack to a healthy snack. That's funny. Bribing your child with a treat to get them to finish their dinner. letting your child put a little ketchup on things they don't like so that they will eat it. Smart. I even do that still. And using the one more bite rule over and over and over again to get your child to finish their meal. Buying snacks with characters your child likes on the packaging so they become more likely to eat it. And number 10, making faces with the food so your child will be entertained and be more likely to eat it. Anyways, that is all the stuff I have to share with you today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thank you so much for listening to GSMC, America Still Beautiful podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Alyssa Jo. As always, thank you so much for listening. Please do not forget to hit that subscribe button, like and follow us on social media, and leave a 5-star review. It's greatly appreciated. I look forward to next time. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts, America Still Beautiful podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows. From the GSMC Podcast Network, from social media news to marketing news, and even weird news, the GSMC Podcast Network has you covered. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts, America Still Beautiful podcast.